Amani exhaled, tucking her work badge into the glove compartment. The past 3 weeks had been a haze of emotion, dread, and sadness. She tried to bury it with work and the hustle and bustle of Miami life. But now she could feel the emotion spilling out of her as she opened her door and exited the car. She parked her car on a small hill next to the Greenwood Plaza Hotel. The hotel looked down onto a sandy beach that poured into the Atlantic Ocean. Her muscles tightened and her stomach churned when in the distance she saw her grandmother, Mama Lise, on the beach standing in front of her aunts and cousins, all of them near a small altar. Mama Lise, a tall, dark-skinned black woman of 70, led Amani's aunts and cousins towards a small altar on the beach. The women wore loose black dresses, most with matching black turbans. Mama Lise towered above them with a large, intricately woven blue and gold turban adorning her head. Standing nearby in a row were 5 men with steel pan drums. Amani could not help feeling out of place in her white blazer, white shirt, and matching pants. She hadn't thought to change. Releasing a melancholic sigh, she locked her car and began to descend the hill, following a footpath down towards the beach. When she reached the beach sand, she removed her shoes and proceeded barefoot. The men began to play the drums as the women sang "Wade in the Water" in a melodic Caribbean rhythm. Amani's feelings of awkwardness eased as she approached, and her cousin Lisa flashed a large smile before coming to embrace her. Amani hugged Lisa and all her cousins before joining them in the song. Tears returned when she saw the simple wooden casket resting on the sand nearby. Eventually, the singing stopped and the drumming ended. Mama Lise went to the altar to retrieve rum and a small plate of saltfish and ackee, an offering. Amani's cousin Lisa handed her a flower wreath, and together they followed Mama Lise toward the shoreline. They stopped where the sand was wetter and the sea's gentle touch kissed their feet. The men retrieved the casket and brought it to the shoreline. Mama Lise nodded to her husband George. He opened the casket. Amani tensed and tears streamed down her face as her grandmother looked down into the empty casket. Mama Lise turned as if sensing Amani's presence. Her face lit up with a wide smile. "Babe, you here?" she said, ringing out in her baritone island voice towards Amani. Amani nodded deeply in respect. "So good to see you," her grandmother said. Amani could not resist as a smile crept on her face. Seeing her grandmother always made her feel a bit better. "Come on now, child," Mama Lise gestured. Amani walked timidly to the casket and knelt, placing a wreath of flowers inside of it. It felt wrong to be there, mourning for her sister over an open, empty casket. But the sea took her sister's body. They would never find it. For weeks, Amani tried to tell herself that her sister wasn't dead until they found a body. However, 12 days ago they found her sister's small boat near Andros Island, smashed and torn on the rocks of Sullivan's Reef after a recent storm. Aaliyah was gone. Instead of a church service, Mama Lise insisted on saying goodbye in the old way. Church was hard enough for Amani to believe in. But Mama Lise's rituals were something else entirely. Nevertheless, the community respected her, and to respect her meant respecting the old ways even if you didn't understand them. Amani reached into her breast pocket and retrieved a blue coral necklace. Aaliyah made it for her 29th birthday 4 months ago. To Amani, it felt better to send it back to the sea. She placed the necklace into the casket next to the flower wreath, then rising and stepping aside as Mama Lise approached. Her grandmother knelt and placed the plate of saltfish and ackee into the casket. Then she rose up and walked into the water. They followed her. Amani stood with her aunts and cousins, ankles deep in the water as Mama Lise spoke and poured out the rum into the water. "Oh, Father God, and our ancestors who have gone on, give welcome to our sweet child, Aaliyah, a light of the Father and a blessing of the Mother. She brightened our lives. She loved and was loved." Water surged around Amani's ankles. She looked down at her feet. Water was foaming and bubbling around her as if something were emerging. Amani instinctively tried to step back, but her legs and feet wouldn't move, locked in place. Moments later, a breeze wafted through the beach, carrying a humming sound. a melody unlike anything she ever heard before. Amani looked around. Was someone playing music? Mama Lise continued. Her presence brought light and music to our lives, but she was a child of the sea. She knew the fish by name, the sea was in her blood. The Lascar did her no harm, and even the Chickchani called her friend. Our child was marked by the sea. She is one with you now. Ancestors, welcome her home! The men moved towards the casket and took hold of it. After several moments, they heaved the wooden box and carried it into the water, slowly releasing it into the ocean. Amani and her cousins watched as the ocean carried it away. Just then, a punchy soprano wave of laughter rippled through the air, rising into expanding notes of joy. She jerked her head around. The laughter reminded her of Aaliyah. Amani didn't like the sea, not nearly the way Aaliyah did. When they were girls, Amani liked her dolls, makeup, and watching celebrities on MTV. She remembered MTV Cribs always seizing her attention, showing the glitzy life in Miami and LA. Amani wanted to be part of it. But Aaliyah would always slip away to the coast, whether in the Bahamas, Port-au-Prince, or Florida, trekking along with a large bag to collect shells and sea glass. She loved to make necklaces out of them. However, every now and again Amani would catch her, whispering to fish as she crouched in the tide pools. She never denied it when Amani confronted her, but she wouldn't explain herself either. Their grandmother never confronted Aaliyah when Amani complained, simply saying that the sea marked some children. Nevertheless, Amani remembered all the moments Aaliyah was there, comforting her when things went bad at school or work, celebrating her triumphs, how they would go skating together on the Biscayne boardwalk and spend weekends at art festivals. They were different but still sisters. But ever since Aaliyah went missing, she had the same dream repeatedly. That night she dreamt of being in the ocean, deep underwater, swimming. But she wasn't Amani, she was Aaliyah, swimming effortlessly, gills fluttering at her neck as a deep and melodic song echoed from the deep. Next day. That morning, Amani had breakfast with her grandmother and cousin Lisa at the restaurant in the hotel, chowing down on crawfish soup, eggs and bacon, with a small soufflé as dessert. You get a good rest, child? Asked Mama Lise. Yeah, Grandma, I did. I was very tired, slept like a baby, Amani replied. Mama Lise sucked her teeth loudly. Lie not to one another, Colossians 3:9. Why ya lie to me, child? I'm not lying. What is this? Amani said. I know you, girl. I see your bloodshot eyes and badly combed hair. Something is bothering you, Mama Lise replied. Amani huffed, shaking her head. She wasn't in the mood for a talk, definitely not a sermon. Her phone pulsed with a notification. She picked it up with her left hand to view and thumb through her messages.
We are here if you want to talk, Amani, said her cousin.
What else is there to say? It was all said yesterday, replied Amani. Mama Lise leaned forward. You dreamed about her again, didn't you, child? Amani's fork dropped, causing a loud clattering of metal and ceramic that rippled through the restaurant. How did you? Mama Lise tried to answer, but Amani cut her off. No, stop. I don't want to hear any more of your voodoo crap, Grandma. Amani stood up, angry and annoyed. She knew what Mama Lise was going to say, but she didn't want to hear it. People looked over to their section, curious and confused as Amani stormed away from the table towards the exit. Outside, she inhaled and exhaled heavily, gazing out towards the ocean. Not knowing why, she felt compelled to get closer to it. Amani began to run down from the hotel towards the parking lot. From the parking lot, she rushed downhill along the footpath until she reached the beach. Her feet carried her towards the water with a nearby dock and pier standing north towards her left. She stopped for a moment to take off her shoes, and then she kept going, her eyes darting around as if looking for something. It was all insane. The sister she loved was gone. Amani thought back to her 29th birthday. They were going to travel together in the summer, to Japan, to Zanzibar, then to Jamaica, ending their trip in Nassau before heading back home to Florida. But it was over. No traveling together, no growing old, no looking after each other's kids. Nothing. There was nothing left of her. Just then, a small fishing vessel began pulling into the nearby docks, docking at the pier. A fisherman on the ship deck noticed Amani and began to call out to her.
"You all right there, ma'am?"
The fisherman called out, waving. At first, Amani was perplexed at why he was calling out to her. Perhaps she seemed strange being near the water with no bathing suit. Did he think she was going to do something crazy? Amani waved back, replying, "I'm all right. How's the fishing?" she asked, trying to be friendly.
"It's not good today, ma'am. Something with silver eyes was trailing us up and down the coast, scared all the cod and mackerel away."
"Really?" Amani replied.
"Yeah. Something out there is stirring up the fish. You be careful now, ma'am. Don't want something pulling you in."
Amani nodded, replying, "Thank you. I'll be careful."
"Take care, ma'am,"
the fisherman replied before returning to his duties on the boat. "You too," Amani replied. Turning away from the water to head back, a flicker of blue and white light glinted near her feet, seizing her attention. The sight stopped her cold, chest tightening, breath stalling. Falling into a crouch, her fingers scooped up a necklace. Blue coral, the very one laid in Alia's casket. In the distance, she saw Mama Lise standing near the entrance to the beach waiting for her as her cousin Lisa looked on from nearby. With her dreams and now the necklace appearing, Amani's mind raced again. Was this a coincidence or something else? Amani walked back across the beach to where Mama Lise waited for her. When she reached her, Amani spoke. "It's not fair, Grandma. She should be here. It feels like she's gone forever, yet not quite. Like she's in some sort of limbo." "She not in limbo, just in the right place now, child," her grandmother replied. "How do you know?" "Not just me, you know, child. You also know." "Grandma, I keep seeing her in my dreams, but last night was different. I wasn't just dreaming about her. I was her. It wasn't even a dream. It was like I was there in the water as her, swimming, breathing, underwater." "The sea calls in its own way, child. You hear it more clearly when you're asleep." "I don't understand. You said the sea marked her, not me," said Amani. "What is this?" Amani asked, lifting the coral necklace for her grandmother to see. Her grandmother smiled and nodded. "You loved her deeply. That leaves a mark too, child." "She didn't just drown." "Did she, Grandma?" "No, child, she went back." "To what?" "The sea doesn't answer to old women like me, but it may answer to you, sweet child." Hours later. Later that day, Amani packed her things and checked out of her hotel. Despite protests from her grandma, Amani decided it was time to leave and head back to Miami. Being there was too hard. She had to get out. The sun began to wane when she got in her car and headed out, the town of Greenwood, Florida, fading in the distance as she drove. But only a few minutes into her trip, something caught her eye. Strange lights near a grove of trees, pulsing on and off in a rhythmic pattern, as if calling to her. To her surprise, Amani felt a strong attraction to the lights, like a moth to a flame. What was going on? Amani couldn't keep going. She knew she had to follow the lights. She stopped at the side of the road and walked back towards the grove of trees. The lights pulsed faster and faster as she approached. Then Amani ran, her former years on the Biscayne Girls High School track team coming in handy as she bounded quickly towards the light source. Within a moment, she was at the entrance of the trees. She went forward, following the light. For several moments, she walked briskly as the light seemed to slowly zigzag away from her, as if leading her somewhere. Amani transitioned her pace into a light jog, dodging spiderwebs and small puddles of water and mud. Just then, the light veered sharply and slipped into a clearing. Amani followed, heart quickening. At last, something began to take shape ahead. Amani caught sight of a large, rounded creature, feathered, leaning awkwardly to one side. "Hey!" she shouted. The creature stopped and turned. Amani gasped. Her chest tightened, her insides clenched, and her mind raced. Before her stood a gold and grey mossy feathered bird with flecks of orange light reflecting off its crest of feathers. The bird looked straight at her, holding a lamp in its 3 fingers, and its long sturdy toes anchored to the ground. The bright-colored plumage suggested it was a male. His round beaked and feathered head moved from side to side, looking at her up, down, and sideways. He looked like an owl, but not quite. Owls didn't use lamps. Her mind tried to reject it, but Amani knew she couldn't deny it any longer. It was a chickcharney, an owl-like creature who blessed you if you respected it and who cursed you if you didn't. The chickcharney gently placed the lamp on the ground and moved towards Amani. Its large feathered head bobbed up and down vigorously. "Was that a nod?" I said. "You're a real chickcharney?" The creature bobbed its head up and down again. It understood her. The chickcharney picked up the lamp with its beak, moving closer to Amani, gesturing for her to take it. Amani reached for the lamp, bowing reverentially as she took hold of it. As a girl, Mama Lise told her and her sisters stories about the chickcharney. Respect the chickcharney and it will respect you. Disrespect the chickcharney and bad luck would follow you for the rest of your life. There was a reason he was here now. Something was happening. Amani had to see it through. "My sister, Aliyah. Do you know her?" The owl-like creature hooted, and its feathers fluffed and expanded as its head bobbed up and down vigorously. A big yes. The chickcharney then headed away from Amani towards the other side of the clearing. It bobbed and motioned with its head for her to follow. Amani hesitated but then decided to follow. She had to see this through. She followed the chickcharney out of the wooded area. Ahead were the docks and pier stretched into the ocean, its dark waters glinting rays of moonlight. Trusting her gut, Amani followed her strange new companion. Their footsteps echoed softly, and the dock's weathered boards groaned as they proceeded towards the pier. The chickcharney moved steadily ahead, glancing back now and then to make sure Amani followed. Then it stopped beside a pile of wooden planks stacked up against a wall to one of the pier terminals. Without warning, her new friend bolted. "Wait, where are you going?" Amani called after him, but within seconds the chickcharney had vanished into the night. She looked back down at the pile of wooden planks, unsure of what to look for, but then she saw something strange. A bit of black from a book poking out from under one of the planks. Amani reached down and tugged on the book, releasing it from under the plank boards so she could look at it. It was a journal. Dust rose around the lamp as she focused the light on the journal. She wiped salty grime and dust from the journal's cover. When she opened it, her breath caught. It was Aliyah's. All in her handwriting. Some of the ink bled out into other pages, like a ruptured vein, but the writing was still legible. Across all the pages were drawings of strange symbols, perhaps a language. And then there were descriptions of dreams and voices from below. The final entry sent a chill down Amani's spine. "I heard the call again last night. It is time for me to go. Not to die, but to remember. It is time." A low hum vibrated through the pier and rumbled inside of her, trembling like a distant chord being plucked and played. The hum deepened and expanded, but she did not fear it. Amani continued down the pier, passing the boathouse terminal as the low hum deepened, rising and falling beneath her feet like a young man's pulse. Soon she came to the edge of the pier and listened. The humming stopped, but then a whisper crept into her ears, very soft, so soft she nearly missed it. Amani kept listening, then she heard it more clearly. "Amani, Amani." A voice was calling her name. Without hesitating, Amani removed her shoes and emptied her pockets. Then she leapt from the pier and dove into the water. The world above faded away as water rippled above her. She extended her arms and pulled water behind her, launching her body down further. Just then she stopped as her ears picked up a song, a slow melody of aching yet joyful notes, full of memory and love, like a lullaby that rumbled and expanded in her body. Yet the melody felt familiar. The voice, she knew that voice. Then out from a thick sheet of darkness and drifting strands of algae, a light emerged. A flicker of blue and gold light glided effortlessly toward her, graceful and deliberately like a bird in the sky. As it neared, a shadowy creature took shape, with a long body. Shock shot into Amani's veins as the creature drew closer and exposed more of its body. The lower half of the creature's body bore a long, scaled tail that rippled with movement. Fins curved diagonally from the sides like the wings of an albatross. But from the waist and up, the figure was unmistakably human-like. Arms, hands, the soft lines of a chest, a slender neck and a face. A woman's face. A small crown rested on her brow, nestled among locks of seaweed-like hair. Her face and skin bore a tint of blue with streaks of violet. The light increased, and Amani gazed into a face like hers. No, a face like their mother's. It was her. Aliyah, Amani wanted to say, but the water kept her silent. Nevertheless, her sister nodded. And then came a voice, not a sound, but a presence, clear and powerful, undulating and resonating inside of Amani's mind. Yes, Amani, it is me. No lips moved, no sound carried, but she heard and felt her sister's voice. Amani welled up with emotion, pressure built inside of her like a submarine engine about to explode. Her sister drifted forward and wrapped her into an embrace. Aliyah's body was warm, shockingly warm, like sunlight captured in oceanic flesh. Amani embraced her back, hugging her tightly, forgetting the world above. She held on to her sister and didn't let go. "Why are you here? Why did you go?" Amani asked. Amani, Suddenly, Amani began to struggle as her body shook and twisted, desperate for air. Aliyah pulled back and then pressed her mouth to Amani's. Air filled her lungs like she was back on the surface. Aliyah smiled as Amani recovered. Cupping her hands into her own, Aliyah spoke. "The Sea Mother called me back to protect the sea's memory and its future. I remember, and now I serve." "I don't understand. What are you talking about?" Amani's mind countered. "This is where we came from, Amani, long, long ago. I followed the Sea Mother's song, I heard her voice, and I finally answered her call. I followed, and she showed me who I am, who we are." Aliyah tilted her head. The sea around them shimmered as more bodies and silhouettes from the deep rose towards them, towering figures with flowing fins and seaweed-like hair. They circled around Amani and her sister. Aliyah continued, "Haven't you felt the pull in your bones, sister? The voice in the water, the dreams?" Amani shook her head. "I don't understand. I have had dreams, but not to return here. I need you, Aliyah, up there." Aliyah drifted closer to Amani, gently touching the coral necklace around Amani's neck. "I sent this back to you. This is your key. When you're ready, this will guide you." Aliyah then drifted back and slowly began to turn away to join the others. "Wait, don't go," Amani pleaded. "I won't be far," Aliyah whispered in her mind. "When you remember, we will find each other again." With that, Aliyah turned away and joined her fellow sea people as they descended further into the deep. Their glow dimmed and they slowly faded away. Aliyah was gone. Still having ample air breathed into her lungs, Amani swam up and climbed to the surface. The warm embrace of her sister lingered in her bones like lightning caught in a bottle. Amani's body broke through the surface of the water and fell onto the muddy shore. She crawled forward, gasping for air, inhaling and exhaling until her strength returned. As she began to stand, she froze when she spotted her grandmother, standing on the beach waiting for her. Amani came closer. "You knew?" "Didn't you?" she said as she approached her grandmother.
"Duppies don't drown my child,"
her grandmother replied. Amani sighed and nodded. She understood now. The stories weren't stupid voodoo. They were real. And now these stories were part of Amani. The next day, waves lapped and undulated at the shore, pulling lines of sand and rocks back into the sea as if showing the progression of time. At one moment you are in one place, then you're in another and another, until one day you're pulled out completely from the adventure of life. Amani walked along the shore, barefoot and relaxed, watching the tide rise and fall as she stooped to pick up shells and shards of sea glass. She reached to her side and opened her satchel, adding them to her collection. A song came to her mind, and she sang. Amani sang an old Creole melody that her mother once taught her. She stopped as her voice carried out to the sea, and she saw a shape moving on the rocks in the distance. Her eyes fixed on the lone silhouette of a woman-like body, laying on an outcropping of rocks, gazing towards the shore. Amani knew it was Aliyah. The sight warmed her heart and eased her mind. She took a breath of the salty air and smiled. I'll be ready when the right tide comes in. I'll be ready, Aliyah. The end.